to Sexy Mom Abundant Life with best-selling author and coach Kathy Williams, a show to help you tap into the support of the universe and access the abundance that's available in every area of your life. Listen in for conversations and tools to create more ease, joy, and possibility with family, relationships, business, and living. Kathy's joyful perspective will help you tap into your own wisdom and create a life of presence and abundance your way. Listen live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, or anytime on iTunes or at IOM FM.
Welcome to Sexy Mom Abundant Life. This is your host, Kathy Williams. I'm delighted you're here with me today. In fact, it's kind of nice. I haven't had a show to myself for the past month or so. I've been interviewing amazing guests like Gay Hendricks and Carol Klein, New York Times best-selling authors, and Sophie Michelle, one of my favorite people to just pop on each month. And it's kind of nice to just have a show where it's just going to be me, even though that's a lot of talking sometimes. And as I was thinking about what to talk about today, something really popped that a listener asked me about. And she asked, Kathy, you made a comment that your security is not in money, it's in being. What does that mean? And we talked about it a little bit. And then I said, really, it's a longer conversation. So that's what today's show is about. Where does insecurity come from? Where does true security come from? And how often we misidentify where security comes from. Like, what place our security in? Is it in a home? Some people say, yeah, that's what creates security. A large bank account, a quote, secure job, which a lot of us have seen over the years, not only just now during COVID times, but also, as life has changed to more technology and things like that. Sometimes what in the past has been considered to be a secure job becomes obsolete or becomes very unreliable. So where does true security lie? That's where we're going to venture today. And once you get this, once you really get this, no one can take it away. It's pretty amazing. I mean, there will be there might be the doubt phase, right? But then there will be you're tapped into it, you're not. You're tapped into it, it goes. You're tapped into it, it leaves. And that's cool, right? That's kind of like the training wheel phase where you have those little teeny wheels on your bike just in case. And sometimes you use them and sometimes you're aligned, balanced on the bike. And then sometimes you tip off and use those training wheels and sometimes you're back, just flowing. And so my hope is that you really get this, because once you do, life becomes so much easier to trust, and it takes a lot less energy. Because when we feel like our security comes from something outside of us, then we're constantly grasping, we're constantly reaching, fearing that we could lose it or looking for it to regain it. And so before we dive in, just a little bit about me. I've been on the radio for 4 years. I was looking at that today like, whoa. I've taught classes and workshops all over the world right now. They're mostly online. You can join me at meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. I'm going to be teaching more and more Hawaiian-based energy work, Ho'oponopono, energy techniques, meditative, way cool stuff, aka cord removal and cord cutting, but it's not cutting, it's removal. Because there's been a real interest in that. And in fact, I was saying the other day, that is some of the most powerful energy work I've learned, and I've studied modalities from all over the world. So it's powerful. I want to help get it out there. as well after years of studying with a kahuna here on Maui where I live. Um, Also, you can find me, you can reach out, you can suggest show ideas. I love things to be interactive, so you can do all of that at meetkathywilliams.com, where you can also get a free Create Your Life energy poll. Kind of like the one that has some 26,000 plus views on YouTube. People seem to like it. So hop on over to meetkathywilliams.com, Kathy with a K, Williams with an S. So, Kathy, money is not security. Well, then what is? Right? As this woman asked me, true security comes from being. And being is the space where you simply are without expectation, without desire, without need of anything to be different at all from how it is in this moment. And that's mostly not how we live our lives, right? No, of course I want something to be different. I want to not have to wear a mask when I go to the grocery store. I want, a partner. I want this, I want that. That's all fine. That's not wrong. I'm not saying desire is wrong. What I'm saying is being is a different space to live from. It's like Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who had a center in Fairfield, Iowa, still has a center, even though he's not around. He was Deepak Chopra's teacher. And, someone was interviewing him on the radio one day. And they said, so what do you do when things are not going well? And he's like, not going well? And they said, yeah, when things aren't going your way. And he looks at them and he said, things are always going my way. And it's because he doesn't have the attitude that something is lacking in life, that things should be different from how they are. When you and I run into an obstacle, we probably look at it like, oh no, now I have to deal with this. Now I have to handle or manage this. To him, life is always going his way. Okay. Everything is always working out for me. Is a phrase I have in my bathroom. Actually, I look at it every day. And it's like the things we've decided are obstacles, decided shouldn't be there, are just part of the journey. And maybe they're actually the catapult to get us where we're supposed to be, where we'd like to be, and so it's our mind's interpretation that something is wrong, something shouldn't be there, something shouldn't be occurring, this person shouldn't be doing that thing that they're doing that's irritating, right? And here's the thing, we're making that up, that thing shouldn't be, right? Life put it there. The infinite source of all possibilities put this stone in the road, and we're looking at it saying it shouldn't be there. Okay, so we're living, essentially we all have degrees in something very interesting, and it's called making stuff up. Right? We're constantly making stuff up in our heads. Constantly. Oh, when I have more money, I'll be happy. That's made up. Okay. When I have the partner, when my partner's happy with me, I'll be happy. That's made up. Right? I made up for a long time. When I get the leading roles in ballet, let me go back. I'm not happy, but I'm working hard, and when I'm finally getting the leading roles, I'll be happy. Well, guess what? When I was getting the leading roles, still wasn't happy. All right, that's when I quit. Because I was like, geez, this is not worth it. So we've decided our security is in something outside of us, outside of being present with what is right now as the gift it is. We've decided that our security is in something else, is in something that we need to get or accumulate or achieve. And this makes sense in a way, because as a child, you have an adult, usually two at least, who bring you food, bring you water, house you, provide your clothes, right? So, seemingly, all of these things that create security are outside of you. And then you please this or these beings, these people, your parents usually. You please them so that they will continue to be happy with you, so that you'll have that security. How many of us are still doing that today, right? I have to please this person in order to have my security. And that's not actually true as much as it looks true. It may look true. Well, if I don't please this person, if I don't please my job, then I'll get fired and then I won't have security. Yeah, that looks true. And it's made up. Okay. Here's the thing, thought. Anything going on in your head is made up. I mean, the thought itself is real, like that it exists. And it's made up. Like everything. I was talking with an awakened man the other day, Jim Drever. He wrote this book called End Your Story, Begin Your Life. Useful book. And we were talking about the fact that anything other than now, like this now moment, what is occurring for you now, anything other than that is made up. Again, this is not a wrong thing or a bad thing. It's just the truth, right? If you go back to the past in your mind, you're making that up. Yeah. And let me even make it a little bit, paint a little more interesting picture for you in regard to this. I once was teaching a 4-day workshop, and there was a woman in there who had been in law enforcement. She wasn't a police officer, but she was in law enforcement. And she said to me, Kathy, being at the scene of an accident is quite revealing, because you see that nobody sees what actually occurred, right? Each person, let's say there are 7 people at the scene of the accident, each of them will have a different story of what happened, and they'll be totally different, and they all would swear on the Bible that their recount is true. All right? 7 totally different stories, and each of them would swear that their story is the truth, right? We don't see reality as it is. We see it as we are. We see it through the filter and the screen of our past conditioning, our past memories, our past experiences, our past traumas, right? It's like all of us are wearing glasses, but maybe the glasses are rose colored, or maybe they're yellow, or maybe they're green, but then they also have bird poop and a few dust specks on them, and suddenly you're not seeing the world as it is. Now, here's the interesting thing. The world's traditions are aware of this. Like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali specifically states this, that, we see things like a cloudy crystal. We don't see it clearly, which is okay, as long as we know that, right? Like Michael Neal, the Hay House author, is the man whose coaching program certification I took, and he said one day, oh shoot, I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm like about to say what he said, and then I'm like, where'd it go? um, but it's like, well, he does say this, that thought is like the Play-Doh of our universe, right? It's the creative force of the universe. We create amazing things with thought. We create chairs, we create buildings, we create amazing workshops, we create clothing design. We create amazing things with thought, but we also put a lot of significance. Oh, here's what he said. He said that it's not a problem that you have a negative thought. The problem is that you make it a problem or that you give it weight. Oh no, I'm having this negative thought. I shouldn't have it, Da, 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 da. No, it's there. The thing is, you're like the sky, vast, spacious, open awareness that's present. And the thought is like a dark cloud that passes across the sky. It will pass. It's not a big deal. And so one thing we can do is learn to identify what's beyond the thought, right? What's beyond the thought is ever present. What we can do is learn to tap into that spaciousness. And yes, meditation is one way, but I'm going to teach you during the course of this show some other super simple ways to tap into the spaciousness of you. Because here's the thing, it's that spaciousness, it's that source from which all things arise. It's that source that wakes you up in the morning. It's that source that sprouts an oak tree from an acorn and a coconut tree from a coconut. It's that source that swirls galaxies into being. So your security is in accessing that space, that source. And that's where we're going to get during the course of the show. Now, maybe you'll have an epiphany and that spaciousness will last you 6 months, and you won't exit it. Or maybe you'll just get a taste of it today. Either way is fine. There's not a right or wrong. So we're going to go to break now. But when we come back, I'm going to show you a quick way to tap into that spaciousness of being. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Off any item in the shop, including videos, energy pulls, even private sessions, by entering the code SMRadio. Also at meetkathywilliams.com, you can download a free Create Your Life exercise and join me for online classes and Hawaii retreats. And if you're stuck, helping you get unstuck is my specialty. I'd love to work with you one-on-one.
Hey, everybody, it's Kathy Williams, and we're talking about true security today and where insecurity comes from, which is misidentification. Misidentification from the fact that you are not already one with everything there is. You are. So we misidentify that I'm separate. No, I have to take care of myself and figure things out. And if I don't, things won't be okay. And then I might be homeless on the street and no one will like me. And then maybe I'll mooch off people or whatever it is. It's like all of that is made up. And so I've been talking about the fact that we have like advanced degrees in making stuff up. And a lot of what we make up, right, with our thoughts is not useful. Now, some of the things we make up are really creative and useful, right? Like any program you've ever taken was made up, right, from thought. Any chair you've ever sat in was made up and created by thought. Every house you've ever lived in was made up and created by thought. Not a bad thing at all. Very useful. And so it's just a matter of recognizing that the idea that security lies outside of us is made up. And one time I was in a workshop with Michael Neal, and we were talking about money, and he said, what are the premises you've been living by in regard to money, as though they're true, but they're not? Like, what shaky foundation have you set up for your ideas about money? And it's made up. Like, money doesn't come easily. Like, I have to work hard for it. Like some people have it, some people don't, right? And these are all ideas that are made up, and we can choose to live as though they're true or not. We could equally live by the idea that, oh, it's easy to get money. Money's everywhere. People love to spend money. And, I provide something that they want, and they'll love to spend money with me. Lots of people live by that idea. The maker of precious moments. Do you remember those little dolls? If you live in the US and you were alive during like the 90s at least, you probably do. Cute little dolls with giant eyes, or porcelain figurines or whatever. That's his premise. Yeah, if I provide something that people want, whether that's a service or a quote or a figurine, people will be happy to give me their money. So, and then what we live as though it's true, then reality, the world presents that reflection of our belief. The person who thinks it's hard to make money finds it hard to make money. The person who thinks, yeah, as long as I give people something that they're interested in, people are happy to give me money. That shows up for him, right? So, security, insecurity. I want to share this amazing quote that stimulated an awakening. And then we'll get to the tool I mentioned in a moment. In a moment, we'll get to the tool that I mentioned right before the last break. Right? So Sid Banks was a Scottish welder, and he was living, I believe, in Canada at the time that this happened. He was on a walk with a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and they were talking about insecurity. And Sid said something about it being insecure. And the other guy looked at him and said, "You're not insecure, Sid. You just think you are." And he got it at one level, and Sid got it at a way deeper level. He got that, oh, thinking is what's causing, it's what's creating all of it. Right? He's right. I'm not insecure. And it just took him into this deep spaciousness of being. You're not insecure. You never have been. You just think you are. And so, kind of want to share kind of the more advanced of the tools. I have 3 tools that I'd like to share with you today that have made a profound impact on my life. And I kind of want to share with you the one that's maybe hardest to get. So if you don't get it, then let it be, and we'll move on to the other tools. But this one is really looking at who is the I. And it may be easy to get. So disregard what I just said and come into now. Who is the I that feels like it needs security? And I'm not talking about who is your inner child, what age were you, none of that. Okay. Who is the I who feels like it needs security? And just look for that. Who is the I that feels like it needs other people's approval? It's interesting, isn't it? To just kind of explore that. I play with this a lot. Who is the I that's upset with this person? Who's the I that is feeling disappointed? And then take a look. look for that I. Look for that idea of you. Because if you look, you realize that there's really nothing there. Right? Like that I is just an idea of you. It's just an idea. So play with that, because it's very profound in a way, but it's such a different way of looking at the world. Like, wait, I'm looking back at myself, looking for a self, a identity, a self-concept that's actually made up, which is kind of cool. Because it's like, well, then what am I really? So let's go to the next tool, which, well, let's not even go to a tool. Let's just explore this a little further by starting to recognize what is the presence. Like, pay attention as you're listening to my voice. Pay attention to what is actually listening. So, what is the part of you? What is the presence? What is the listener? What is listening to my voice? All right. And not the subcontext, not the sub vocalization in your own head, like not the person who talks back and says, well, what is she talking about? Like, I'm not sure I get it. Am I doing it right? Like, none of that. Just pay attention to the presence that's listening. And not only listening to my voice, but also hearing the sounds around you, possibly the birds or the air conditioner or, other people in the background, right? What is listening? And the cool thing is, as we transfer our attention from out there, like the mind is always going outward. Oh, who is that? Oh, how do I respond to the external environment? What needs changing out there? Okay. Two, instead of that, what is seeing? What is hearing? What is the presence that's doing all of that? You'll find that it goes beyond your story. It's deeper than your story of you. Kind of want to give an analogy, kind of like, if you know how if a river freezes, there's ice there. And deeper than that ice, there's still some flowing water. You are that flowing water. And you're also the ice, right? The water is ice. It's showing up in many different ways. Yet the listener, that presence that's observing, is always observing. Always observing. And we're identifying with all these various things that are changing. Right? The ice on the surface goes from ice to water to steam, depending on the temperature, but the deeper water is always just flowing. And it's the ever-present now. Okay. Always flowing, now, and now, and now, and now. Okay. So one of the quickest ways to become more aware of the deeper you beyond I am a mom, I am a partner, I am an artist, I am a citizen of this country, I am this age, is to start to pay attention to what is underneath and listening. And listening for me has been the easiest way rather than what is seeing. I can do it from that space. However, who is actually listening or what is actually listening for me is a faster process. We're pointing back in the direction of that which you are. And tapping into that is the greatest stability, because the more you get to know it, the more you realize you are the infinite intelligence and creativity of the infinite universe. And that's greater stability than I have to make my boss happy, otherwise I'll be fired, right? Or my bank account has, $3.4 million. Well, you know what? In Germany, after World War II, if someone had that, right, then their money goes under, it becomes like inflation, crazy inflation, and suddenly $3.4 million doesn't buy you much at all, right? So like all the external world is always changing, but the more you're able to tap into that which you are, then it doesn't matter if your boss scowls at you, right? Because you know that you're always going to be tapped in to the source of wisdom, the source of whatever is required. I used to go sit at the feet of Vijay Shankar, and if you don't know him, which many people don't, he's an awakened man who was living in Galveston, Texas at the time. And my friends and I, they went to Rice University, and I was in the valley there, would go down to see him from Houston to Galveston. And one time he relayed a conversation that he had with his own boss when he was a doctor, because before he like let go of his career to sort of become a guru, I guess you would say, he was a physician. And the head of physicians at the at the hospital said something to the effect of, I could have you fired. And Vijay said back to him, Dr. Shankar goes, well, even that would not be up to you, right? Because he knows that is up to the source of all that is, right? That is up to the infinite creative potential of the universe, not just up to that other guy's ego or personality. And when you really like soften into trusting this, and I know sometimes like from how we've been living, it can feel like such a stretch, but you begin to be spirit led, and it's powerful. Like you make choices and you don't know why you're making these choices. You're like, well, I'm making this choice because I know it's just the thing to do, right? Like when I chose to go to massage school, I was like, there is no good reason for me to be going to massage school. Most of my people are online. I love to travel around the world and speak and do workshops, and there's not like a mind-led reason for me to be doing this, and I know it's the next action for me to take. And when I would ask, my message was always the same. It said, all will be revealed. Every time I would ask, why am I doing this? That was the message I got, right? And you begin to trust these because you realize you have two choices in life, and that is to listen to the wisdom that bubbles up or to not listen. And life works better when you listen. So when we come back, we're going to tap into the third tool. I love this one. I do it every day. It's amazing. And I think you'll love it too. So we'll be back. Sexy Mom, Abundant Life in just a moment. Thanks for listening, everyone. You can always listen to replays on Spotify, SoundCloud, at meetkathywilliams.com, and all the places you love to listen to things. Welcome back to Sexy Mom, Abundant Life. Here I am laughing at myself. Sometimes, I was thinking this morning about how Thursday is an interesting day in the life of Kathy, because I usually feel like I have it all together, and then something like, oh, my devices are running low on battery, and got to run around and find a plug or something, or headphones that are working, or you name it, and anyway, I'm just laughing at myself, which is probably the best person to laugh at, So I just want to, before we dive back in and I share another tool to help you reach this source of security that won't leave you, right? That you can tap into and rely on and continue to rely on, and it will source you with ideas and actions to take and places to go, so that you're in the right place in the right time, and places not to go. Like, don't get in the elevator with that person, right? Being aware and tapped into the spaciousness of who you truly are changes everything. So before we do another tool, just want to invite you on over to meetkathywilliams.com if you haven't gotten your free energy pull exercise to create your day. It's pretty magical. And I had a Ho'oponopono class yesterday, Healing and Forgiveness with Ho'oponopono, and the recording is available, and it was so much fun. Like, after I teach a Ho'oponopono class, I end up getting emails. I got several yesterday already, about how the class has impacted their life, participants' lives. I had this aha, or this changed for me, or I was able to enter this space of peace. And then usually within 3 or 4 days later, people will say, oh, I always have problems with my child at the beach, and our situation was totally transformed. Or, you really helped me clear up this voice of self-criticism and judgment that I've worked with for decades, and I suddenly got it and was able to let that change. So I love doing them because of that. I mean, it's so much fun during the 2 hours, but then after, it's just beyond to hear the life changes people are having. So I've added another one. It's on July 30th, and you can find out all about it at meetkathywilliams.com/upcoming. All right. Next week, we also have a super fun person on the radio. So come tune in to Heather Ash Amara and me. And that is actually, that's in 2 weeks. But anyway, a heads up, we're going to be talking about the warrior heart practices and her new book. So now I'm going to share with you a practice that I do every day. And it's nothing new. It's not a new practice. Like, it's an ancient practice, but it's a little spin because we're not using Sanskrit. We're using English, or if you have a different language, you can say it in that. And it's really designed to help show you that you are not what's temporary, right? Like, the body you have, if you're listening in the year 2020, when I'm recording this, is the 2020 version, but it's totally different from the 1997 version, and it's different from the 2040 version, right? So you are not the body. The body is constantly changing. All right, you are not even your mind. Your mind is constantly changing and shifting with the thoughts. You are not your car. You've probably recognized that. um, you are not anything that's changing. You are changeless. So the ancients knew this and they developed a practice called neti, N-E-T-I. Okay. So, and you could call it neti or neti. E's in Sanskrit are pronounced A. And what it was is not this. Neti means not this, right? I am not that. I am not that. I am not that. I am not that. So, one of the practices I do every day is sit in front of the mirror for 10 minutes. Sometimes I like it so much that I add time. And sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't settle in very easily, so I add time. But usually it's because I enjoy it so much. And you look in your own eyes, and whatever arises, I am not that. Right? So maybe you have an idea of something you need to do before you leave the house. Oh, I'm not that. An old memory. I am not that. I am not that. That contraction in your belly. I am not that. And as you do this, you can add things like, I am not that sensation. I am not that memory. I am not that story. Usually, I end up either just saying, I am not that, or I am not that story. Right? Jim Drever, I believe he likes to say, I am not my ego, as he recommends this practice. I am not my ego. I am not my ego. I am not my ego. For me, it works better. I am not that, like whatever I'm identifying, the thought, feeling, emotion, contraction, memory, I am not that. Or to say, I am not that story. I am not that story. And like I said, I usually do it as a practice in front of the mirror. And as you look into your own eyes, it's very interesting because you can definitely see, at least over time, once some of the gunk is out of the way, you can see the light of presence and a spaciousness opens up such that your mind becomes more settled and calm into this now moment, which is the only moment there is. Okay. And that's where security is, right here, right now. And I know a lot of our nervous systems are kind of jacked and agitated, and the mind is going right, left, and out of control. However, this practice can help draw you back into a space of being right now. I am not that. I am not that worry. I am not that desire. I am not that need for approval. In fact, I'm no need at all. And the practice that I've already shared, that already has opened the door to that. Who is the I that's listening? I'm not that is more directed to, well, I identify with these things all day long, but I'm not that. And one of the things you can also start to do is a couple of times a day for a couple of breaths, just to almost as though you're exhaling your thoughts back to life itself, back to the universe, back to God, whatever term you like. It's really not important. It's like you're exhaling those thoughts back to God, back to life. So go ahead right now. And can you suspend thought for 3 seconds? 10 seconds? Could you do it if your life depended on it? Exhaling, letting go of all thought, not breathing, not thinking. And practicing that, really being with it, finding that spaciousness that's beyond all your ideas. Because as I said in the beginning, it's like we're wearing glasses that are clouded by dust, maybe some bird poop and just filters. And as you start to tap into the spaciousness that you truly are, beyond all your ideas about who you are, beyond your ideas of what you can or cannot do, be, or have, just tap into the space of you that's always been. It's going to clean the glasses. And it can clean them quite quickly. You know, if you consider that, for decades or even eons, you've identified with sort of like this ball that's going throughout time. And this ball has collected ideas of this is good and this is bad and this is who I am and this is what I'm not capable of and all of this. And you realize, oh, no, that ball was artificial with accumulated gunk and in the space. And that doesn't mean that you won't continue to have a body. That doesn't even mean you won't continue to have likes and dislikes. Like, you can still have preferences without continuing to cling to this identity that takes so much effort to cling to and perpetuate. And life becomes easier because you realize you're led. It's like the larger you is swirling together events and experiences that work for the you that's in a body, because it's all one. I know that's such a general term, everyone uses it, it's all one, we're all one, you know, but you begin to experience life in a totally different way that's much more harmonious, that's much less resistant or combative, much more peaceful, and people sense that peace from you. Like, it is, and it's genuine. It's not a put on. And that's kind of what we're all looking for when we think we're looking for a security. It's like we're looking for a space in which we can soften into, in which we can settle, if that's an okay word for you. I know I used it with someone who did construction once, and he's like, oh no, settling is a very bad thing. I was like, okay, let's pick a different word, right? But you can relax into it, just like a child can relax into their parents' arms. Because you realize in a way you are carried, and that you don't have to figure life out, which is so freeing. So, practice breathing back to life. Recognize what you are not. I am not this. I am not this. And looking for what is looking. Listening for what is listening. Recognizing that this moment now is the only moment. How much more can you soften into this moment and recognize that the source of all wisdom lives here, lives now. It's breathing as you. The infinite creative expression of the universe is embodied as you and as everyone and everything else. But it's choosing to show up as you. And that's a really cool thing. So if you have questions about today's show, hop on over to meetkathywilliams.com. I know it's kind of like a whole different perspective, but once you get it, it's super freeing. So let me know how these practices go for you. And I'll see you next time, everyone. 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on IOM.FM. YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, all the other places. And of course, you can also find the replays at IOM.FM, IOM, and meetkathywilliams.com/radio. Have a great week, everyone, and aloha.